Welcome to the channel and welcome to the show. I can't wait to share this with you because I had a crazy experience this weekend in a Native American sweat lodge. Now, first off, I know what you're going to say, Native American sweat lodge. I thought this channel was about Norse mythology, Germanic mythology, symbolism, folklore, and that's true. But it's the Native American spirituality and the Red Road that led me to become a pagan. There once was a medicine man from Pine Ridge Reservation, from the Lakota people. His name is Archie Fire Lame Deer, and he had a vision. He had a vision to bring the sweat lodge to Europe. Sweat lodge is a cleansing ritual to cleanse yourself spiritually and mentally and physically. Now, he faced a lot of backlash for doing that within his own tribe. There were people who were saying, these Europeans, they come over here, they genocide us, put us in special camps, and now you want to give away our culture? So they were mad. But he talked it over with the elders of the tribe, and he came. And I never met him because he died before I could. But his son carries on his work to this day. His son, John Fire Lame Deer, named after his grandfather, John Fire Lame Deer Sr., still comes to Europe to teach. And when he comes, I listen. Archie had a saying that he said a lot. Every time, in fact, he said, get in your own power. He kept repeating that every time he went to Holland. People still say that. Get in your own power. And I think what he meant by that is, don't try to imitate Native Americans, but try to figure out where your own native stuff is. John later said that too in a talk. He said, I think why the Europeans like the sweat lodge so much is the sweat lodge reminds them of what it was like. What it was like before they became Christian. So what the subtext is of that, the sweat lodge reminds our hearts what it is to be pagan and heathen. So that is the connection between the Native American stuff and the pagan stuff. That's why I'm doing. Another good reason, by the way, why we could learn from different cultures. Well, I think you can always learn from different cultures. That's a very broad and blanket statement. But as a pagan, there are two cultures that are interesting to learn from. You have the cultures that never got erased and dominated by Christianity or Islam, like the Hindus. I think we can learn a lot from our Hindu brothers and sisters. And there are also cultures who were conquered by Christians or Muslims, but who somehow managed to hold on to their old and ancient ways. The Native Americans are a good example of that. And since we as Europeans are looking to rekindle our native flame, it helps to look at other cultures who still have part of that native flame. So that's the introduction. So what happened? We did the sweat lodge, we did the cleansing ritual, and a lot of preparations will go into it. It's kind of like a sauna, but it's a sauna with spirits, so we don't call it a sauna, we call it a sweat lodge, or in Lakota, inipi. Before we entered the sweat lodge, we walk around the fire and we walk around the lodge, the little hut that we built. And before I entered the sweat lodge, suddenly there was thunder, a loud bang out of nowhere. Now, normally, us pagans, we'd say like, oh yeah, it's Donar, it's the thunder god, it's Thor throwing his hammer around, hail Thor, and we just like say hail Thor and we move on with our lives. But somehow I couldn't bring myself to do that this time. Maybe because when I go to the sweat lodge, I take off my pagan hat and I put on my Native American hat. But you're about to enter this sacred place, and right at that moment, boom! So we entered the sweat lodge, and the guy who ran the ceremony, the first song we sang was to honor the thunder beings. Because in Lakota mythology, they don't have so much as a god of thunder. They believe that when there's thunder, there are these birds. And they're giant. They're like massive birds, and their wings are so big that when they flap their wings, it creates this thunder and lightning. They call them the wakan oate, which, by the way, doesn't translate to bird. Oate means people. The Lakota have a strange way with language, or a beautiful way to look at language. they call all the animals people. So the spiders, they call them the eight-legged people, and the birds, they call it the flying people, and the trees behind me, the standing people. So they keep that connection that we're all the same. That's very much ingrained in their language. So we sang that Wakian Oyate song, and like we were like 15 men in that sweat lodge, and we're all just like Wakian Oyate, just ramming that, just like really putting passion into it. It was really beautiful. We were saying to the spirit world, "We heard you." And meanwhile, I'm thinking in my back of my head, "Yeah, we heard, but what is the message?" So as the sweat lodge closed and it became darkness, and all I could see were these rocks, which were red because they were in the fire before. Everything was hot. Just closed my eyes and I started to think, what is the message of the Wakinyan Oyate, of the thunder beings? And I think I found an answer. Now I'm going to share that answer because it's a personal answer and I think you might find it interesting and even helpful. And feel free to let me know in the comments if you think this is helpful, if I'm onto something, or if you think I'm just simply 2 days away from being institutionalized in a psychiatric institution. Feel free to tell me that as well. Als een donderslag bij heldere hemel. Thunder and lightning came out of nowhere. A giant punch. Ba-bam! And that giant punch is all we need. After that giant punch, the rain comes. And that rain makes the land fertile again. All you need is a good punch. For us humans, that's the same. Sometimes all we need is a good punch. But we think we're Mike Tyson. We think we are Floyd Mayweather. We think we're a famous boxer. We want to have a good life because we try to dodge the punches. Sometimes you don't dodge the punches. Sometimes it's good to take it straight in your face. When someone insults you, don't start shouting back. Sometimes you just take that insult, put it in your pocket, keep it close. And when you take that punch, the tears will come because it will hurt. And those tears, they are the rain. The rain of the earth are the tears on your cheek. They will make your life fertile again, just like the rain makes the earth fertile again. Now, I know there are some people online who say like, yeah, men shouldn't cry. When you were born, what's the first thing you do? You cry. Creator gave you that. Can't run away from that. Now, you shouldn't get stuck in that as well, but it's okay to connect with that feeling. So don't dodge the punches. Take the punches. Cry about it. And that is what will make your life fertile and whole once more. That was the lesson. But what it is with these metaphors, with this symbolism, if it's good symbolism, that means that you can look at it from every direction and it still holds true. You can go really deep into it, and no matter how many layers there are, you still find it's true. You can walk from a very distance and you look at it from a distance, it's still true. Walk around it from every angle, doesn't matter, it's still true. And I think that's with this analogy, and I'll tell you why. Because I said there was like a thunder, and I said it started to rain. Boy, did it ever start to rain. The rain followed us home, and where I live, that's in Holland near Enschede, we had record rainfall that night. I can show you some images of what I saw when I opened my front door. The bike lane in front of our house turned into a river. because the field next to our house was turned into a lake, and that lake was so full that that lake was overflowing into the river, and there were water everywhere. There were pictures and video in the international news of the freeway very close to our house that was so full of water that the cars were floating. And the metaphor holds true. Because when you take a punch, and when you are hurt, and when you start to cry, there can be moments where you think that the world is going to drown in your tears, because that's what it looks like on these images. It looks like the world is is drowning in rain. Rain symbolizes the tears in this story. You think that the world is going to end, but in the end, the rain will always go away, and your tears will always dissipate. And after that, the sun will shine again. Not only that, but the land and your life will be more fertile because of the actions you take. I believe that was the message of that giant punch in the sky that we all felt that day. And for me, it's a personal message because I know I've been avoiding certain punches. I've been avoiding certain things because they're painful. And it was the message of the wakan oate. No more, little man. Time to face the music and dance. If you'd like this little story, please hit the like, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you again next week or in 2 weeks with some more traditional pagan stuff. Gaan met de goden? Or as they say in Lakota, pila maye, mitakirias.
Trying to breathe underwater. Trying to hide cause I'm scared. Confused which is one from the other. Cause it doesn't mean so much in the end. Underwater. Trying to hide cause I'm scared. Confused which is one from the other. Cause it doesn't mean so much in the end.